လက်ရှိမှာဆိုရင်ဒီစစ်ကောင်စီဘက်ကနေရွေးကောက်ပွဲရာဒီတနိုင်လုံးအတိုင်းအတာပေါ်မှာဆိုရင်ဒီမိုကရေစီအစိုးရကိုဖြုတ်ချပြီးတော့အာဏာသိမ်းတဲ့ပွဲလို့ပြောလို့ရတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲသူတို့လုံးမဲ့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲရတာသူတို့တရားဝင်အစိုးရကိုဖြုတ်ချတရားဝင်ဒီမိုကရေစီအစိုးရကိုဖြုတ်ချပြီးတော့အာဏာသိမ်းတဲ့တစ်ဖက်သက်အနိုင်ယူတဲ့ဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲလုပ်မယ်ဆိုရင်အနိုင်ယူတဲ့ပွဲလို့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ဒီလက်ရှိရွေးကောက်ပွဲကိုမလွတ်ဆောင်ဖို့အတွက်လက်ရှိချိန်မှာဒီဟန်တားနေတဲ့နိုင်ငံလုံးအတိုင်းအတာနဲ့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲမှာဖြစ်ပေါ်အတွက်ဟန်တားနေတဲ့အပိုင်းတွေရှိပါတယ်ရှင်ဆိုတော့ဒီအခြေအနေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဒီလူကြီးမင်းအနေနဲ့ဘယ်လိုမျိုးမှတ်ချက်ပြုချင်ပါလဲရှင်
Well, as an outsider, as an international assistance provider, it is not my job and role to give advice on political actions and in what way the people resist. I see that there is clearly a strong will among the population to resist, but our role is to help and to help the process steer towards peace and justice and democracy. And that's why we work with a whole range of stakeholders, but also with the general public in order to spread knowledge and information about democracy, about democratic elections, about constitutional models, federalism, and things like that. But we can only, let's say, provide this type of information and advice from outside. When it comes to a specific event like this sham election, I think we would only remind our friends in Myanmar of basic principles, like the principles that are enshrined in the Federal Democracy Charter, which is human rights for all and principle of inclusion and the rule of law. So I would hope that even if there is resistance, that the harm that is done to innocent civilians is kept to an absolute minimum. Because unfortunately, there's quite a number of people who predict that there will be additional security risks and additional violence around this sham election. And we would hope that anyone, including those who are opposing the military, act only in self-defense whenever necessary and with absolute minimum impact on innocent civilians. I think the National Unity Government has also made a statement to that regard recently, and I would only hope for the people of Myanmar that this sham election, as illegitimate as it is, does not lead to further unnecessary bloodshed and human rights violations. So there are different ways of opposing sham elections around the world. I'm sure the people of Myanmar are looking around for different ideas. This is not something we are going to provide advice on. We provide advice on how to hold good elections, not on how to obstruct bad elections. But we would appeal to everyone, also political activists, to stick to principles of peaceful resistance as much as possible, and to use violence only when it is absolutely justified in self-defense.
ဆက်ပြီးမေးချင်တဲ့မေးခွန်းကပေါ့နော်ဒီစစ်တပ်ကအာဏာသိမ်းလိုက်တယ်အာဏာသိမ်းပြီးနောက်ပိုင်းမှာသူဟာဒီ2020ရွေးကောက်ပွဲရလဒ်ကိုဖျက်သိမ်းပြီးတော့သူတို့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲလုပ်ဖို့လုပ်နေတဲ့ချိန်ရှိတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီနှစ်ကာလအတွင်းမှာဒီစစ်ကောင်စီဘက်ကနေရွေးကောက်ပွဲနဲ့ထပ်လုပ်ဖို့အတွက်ကြိုးပမ်းခဲ့တာတွေလည်းရှိရဒီလာမယ့် August လမှာလည်းရွေးကောက်ပွဲကိုလုပ်မယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီ IDE ရဲ့အနေနဲ့ဒီပြည်သူတွေကိုပေါ့နော်တတိထားဖို့လိုအပ်တဲ့အချက်လက်တွေပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်တိုက်တွန်းခြင်းတဲ့အချက်လက်တွေပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့စစ်ကောင်စီရဲ့ကြိုးပမ်းမှုတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဘယ်လိုသတင်းစကားတွေကိုပြောချင်ပါတယ်လဲရှင့်
Well, as I said, we are not engaging ourselves into the political process inside Myanmar. We are not there to give direct messages to the people. in terms of what to do or what not to do. I already explained how we, as International IDEA, but I think the wider international community that is working on democracy and elections, we will not consider this a credible, genuine election, but just a sham exercise to prolong military rule. So we will try to focus on denying international legitimacy to this process. If you ask me as a Myanmar citizen what to do, I would say one important thing is to try and find a way to contribute in a constructive way to the process of building a new, genuine democracy that is inclusive, that is reflecting the diversity of the country, and that is the foundation for building effective and accountable institutions in the future. This is obviously a long process, but I believe that especially the young generation now is ready to move on and to build such a genuine federal democracy in Myanmar. There will still be blocks on the road. The military will have to accept that the people do no longer want it to play a political role. It will have to find a new role for itself, more in line with what militaries do in the rest of the world. And the people of Myanmar need to be able to form their own democratic representative institutions. And that also requires for every citizen a certain effort to learn about democracy, to learn about human rights, to learn about elections. And there everybody can already do a lot. So I think it's important that citizens also realize that they have an important role to play. Everybody in their own family, in their own community, can play a role in building a new, genuine democratic society. And I appeal especially to the young generation to believe that this is possible, even in Myanmar, and to try to find a way, an active role in building such a new country.
2020ရွေးကောက်ပွဲအနိုင်ရလွှတ်တော်ကိုယ်စားလှယ်တွေနဲ့ဖွဲ့စည်းထားတဲ့ဒီ CRPH လည်းရှိနေပါရှင်။ဒီ CRPH နဲ့ကောဒီ IDA ကပူးပေါင်းပြီးတော့လှုပ်ဆောင်နေတဲ့အပိုင်းရောရှိနေပါသလားရှင်
Yes, so we have been working with the Parliament of Myanmar for many years, already, before the last elections, and we have continued to work with the Parliament after the elections as well. In the form of the CRPH, but also with other MPs. And that also, by the way, includes the elected Plutos at the state and region level, whose election is just as valid and legitimate as the ones on the union level. We do collaborate with the CRPH, who we consider the representatives of the legitimate representatives of the Parliament of Myanmar, and we are not alone in that. Also, the Interparliamentary Union and many parliaments around the world have had this type of relationship with the CRPH as the Parliament of Myanmar. But our interaction and collaboration goes also far beyond that, because we want to make sure that we want to talk to all the legitimate democratic stakeholders who are aspiring to sort of a new democratic future for the country. And so we talk quite extensively also to others who are not represented in Parliament, who have all come together as the coalition that has built the federal democracy charter and the roadmap towards a new constitution. This is obviously still going to be a long and complicated process, but we believe that it is very broadly inclusive and representative and deserves the support of the international community.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါရှင်ကျွန်မဒီတည်ထားတာပေါ့နော်ဒီ IDE ကဒီနိုင်ငံပြင်ပပေါ့နော်ဒီအာဏာသိမ်းပြီးတဲ့အချိန်မှာတော့ဒီရန်ကုန်နဲ့နေပြည်တော်မှာရှိတဲ့ရုံးတွေကိုယာယီပိတ်ထားပြီးတော့လက်ရှိမှာဆိုရင်ပေါ့နော်ဒီ IDE ကဒီမိုကရေစီအတွက်အကူအညီအထောက်ပံ့တွေကိုနိုင်ငံပြင်ပကနေပြီးတော့ပံ့ပိုးနေရလို့လည်းသိထားပါတယ်ရှင်ဒီကိစ္စတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့လည်းဒီပံ့ပိုးကူညီမှုပိုင်းတွေကိုလည်းပြည်သူတွေသိရအောင်ပြပြပေးပါအောင်ရှင်
So yes, it's true that we have had a presence inside the country for almost 10 years before, and we had to leave the country physically after the Myanmar military even accused us of having contributed to electoral fraud and was basically threatening us. And therefore, in the interest of the safety of our staff, we no longer work inside the country. But we have been able to find many ways of working with people in Myanmar and from Myanmar online and also physically outside in other countries. And so far, we have found that this is a good way of providing our help and assistance. We hope that one day we will be able to come back and to help the people of Myanmar to build democratic institutions, to run genuine elections, and to build a genuine democratic society. But for now, we only do this from outside. And essentially, we are also providing a lot of our materials, both written and other online materials in Burmese language. And we publish all of these documents on our website, on our Facebook page. And so we have quite a lot of interactions with some of the key stakeholders in the democratic process, but we also have quite a lot of activities for the general public, and we will increase these materials that we provide for a general public audience, because we believe that every single citizen has a role to play in a democracy, has to be an active citizen, and should be informed about what is democracy, how does it work, what is the role of a citizen, what are human rights, how do democratic elections work. All these things are something that every single citizen in a democratic society should know, and we hope that we are one of those. There are many others as well, but we are one of those who provide such knowledge, such material, such training for the people. So we publish what we do quite transparently on our internet pages, and we invite you all to come and see yourself what we have on offer.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါရှင်ကျွန်မနောက်ဆုံးမေးခွန်းအနေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်မေးချင်တာကတော့ဒီ2023ဒီမြန်မာနိုင်ငံရေးရှိမြော်ခင်ရောဘယ်လိုမြင်ပါသလဲရှင်ဆိုလိုတာက2023မှာဒီစစ်ကောင်စီဘက်ကနေပြီးတော့သူတို့ရဲ့တရားဝင်မှုကိုပြချင်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ရွေးကောက်ပွဲကိုအတင်းတွန်းပြီးတော့လုပ်နေတယ်ဒီဘက်မှာလည်းဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲမဖြစ်မြောက်ဖို့အတွက်ဟန်တားနေတဲ့အပိုင်းတွေလည်းရှိတယ်ပြည်သူတွေကလည်းဒါနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးရွေးကောက်ပွဲကိုလိုလားကြောင်းလမ်းပေါ်ထွက်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့နော်သူတို့ဆန္ဒကိုဖော်ထုတ်နေတဲ့အပိုင်းတွေလည်းရှိတော့ဒီ2023ပေါ့နော်အခုလက်ရှိကာလအရန်ကိုနိုင်ငံရေးရန်မြင့်မားနေပါရှင့်ဒါနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဘယ်လိုမျိုးရှိမြင်တယ်လဲထပ်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့နော်ဒီဖြစ်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ပြောချင်တာရှိရင်လည်းပြောပြပေးပါအောင်ရှင်
Well, I cannot say so much about what is going on inside Myanmar in the areas where the military is trying to hold this sham election and how the people will react there. As I already said, I hope that it will not lead to unnecessary violence and disruption. But if you look at other countries, there are many creative ways in which a society can resist something like a sham election, and maybe the best people need to get together and figure out a good strategy. I think many are already working on this. overall, I believe that despite the terrible losses and the misery in the country, with daily reports of violence and unnecessary deaths and displacement, I also still see that there is quite a bit of hope for a better future. I think the political forces, the democratic political forces, have come together and have come to realize that the future lies in a federal system that genuinely reflects the wishes of the diverse groups of people in Myanmar, but at the same time, that is not introducing new forms of discrimination. I think over the past 2 years, something that is really interesting is that despite, and maybe even because of the violence brought by the military against the people, there has been a new level of maturity, of political maturity among the people and among the political leaders, in the sense that they have realized that they can only find a solution by collaborating, by working together, and by putting the people at the center, and by basing the new structures on human rights and justice for all. And I think that this process will also continue this year. I think the more young people get a chance to play a role in political debate and in decision making, the more we will see a jump into the future and the formation of a more open, of a more diverse and inclusive society. And I think that there is no time to lose, even though at the, let's say, political level, it will still take some time to agree on a new constitution and build new institutions and all of that. But a democratic society is more than just that. A democratic society grows from below, from the grassroots, from the family level, from the household level, from the local community level. And that's where everybody can already make a start. And a lot of this is already happening. And so in that sense, I actually am not so pessimistic. I think it's quite bleak when you read the news, when you see the reports from the various atrocities. But at the same time, I think there is also a strong development in the right direction for Myanmar to become a more a fair and democratic society that gives a chance for all. This process is, by the way, never finished. Even in long-standing democracies, it requires a lot of effort by citizens to renew trust in institutions and to participate actively. And I think, there is really no time in the future to wait for. This can already start now if everybody realizes that as citizens, they also have a responsibility and a chance to contribute to this. So I hope that we will see, even in 23, more of this kind of development.
Okay, ပါရှင်။အခုလိုပေါ့နော်ကျမတို့ဒီရန်ကုန်ခေတ်သက်ကမေးမြန်းတဲ့မေးခွန်းတွေကိုအချိန်ပေးပြီးဖြေကြားပေးရတဲ့အတွက်လူချင်းမင်းကိုလည်းကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်။
Thank you very much for having me and good luck with everything.
ဒါကတော့ဒီမိုကရေစီအစိုးရကကျင်းပခဲ့တဲ့2020ရွေးကောက်ပွဲအကြောင်းနဲ့အကြမ်းဖက်စစ်ကောင်စီကကျင်းပမဲ့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲအခြေအနေတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးဒီမိုကရေစီနဲ့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲဆိုင်ရာအကူအညီပေးရေးနိုင်ငံတကာအဖွဲ့အစည်းဖြစ်တဲ့ International IDE ရဲ့မြန်မာနိုင်ငံဆိုင်ရာအကြီးအကဲဒေါက်တာမားကတ်စ်ဘရန်နဲ့ဆက်သွယ်မေးမြန်းထားတာပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်။ကြည့်ကြည့်ပေးရတဲ့အတွက်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်။ကျမညပါ